There is this very specific, almost physical feeling that
Right.
happens right before you make a call.
Oh, yeah.
Like your hands get slightly cold
Mm,
right before you dial the number. You get that tight feeling in the back of your throat just seconds before the pricing question comes up.
right. It was so real.
And underneath all of it, there was this quiet, constant internal voice asking, who am I to be advising this person?
Yeah. If you have ever picked up a phone to pitch a product or, to follow up with a prospect, you know that exact cold hand feeling.
Exactly.
We try to bury it, but the outward signs are just so loud. You can hear it when someone is talking a little too fast on a call.
Oh, the speed is a dead giveaway.
Right. Or there is that nervous laughter that bubbles up at weird times. The voice gets slightly higher. And my personal favorite, the desperate, urgent need to fill every single second of silence with words.
Yes, you just keep talking.
We end up over-explaining every detail because we feel this urgent need to prove our worth before we get, exposed as a rookie.
I mean, we rush the pitch because the internal panic is screaming that the client is going to figure out we do not belong in this room.
Exactly.
So the instinct is to overwhelm them with facts. And most people just assume this is a passing phase, right? Like we figure we just need to hit our target, get some commission on the board, and this anxiety will naturally fix itself.
Which is such a dangerous trap to fall into.
Really? You don't think it just goes away with time?
No, because ignoring this pattern does not fix it. It actually locks it in place. Every time you have an uncertain, panicky call, your brain logs it as proof that your inner critic is right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there is a real quiet cost here. Managers and clients form deeply lasting early impressions of you. And those impressions are built almost entirely on how you sound, not on your actual product knowledge.
So they are judging the delivery, not the facts.
Exactly. It is a quiet trap for anyone starting out in sales or, anyone comparing themselves to the top performers on the team.
See, the thing that bothers me is how buyers seem to instantly sniff out those nerves.
Yeah.
I always assumed it was because the prospect on the other end of the line just knew so much more than I did.
Right. You thought they were an expert.
Yeah. I thought they could just tell my technical skills were lacking.
Yeah.
But if it's all about how we sound, then the buyer is measuring something else entirely in those first few seconds.
They absolutely are. And if you are listening to this deep dive right now, this is where we really want to unpack what is happening in the room. Because the person on the other end of the phone is not scanning your resume.
Right.
They are not weighing your deep technical background. Think about their day. They are operating under extreme time pressure.
Oh, completely.
Their brain is juggling a dozen mental tabs at once, a late project, an upcoming meeting, a sick kid at home. When the human brain is under that kind of pressure, it hits a wall.
It just cannot take in more data.
Precisely. It simply cannot measure every new piece of info that comes in. So, to survive the day, the brain takes a shortcut.
Wait, so when you say they're juggling too many tabs, you mean the prospect's brain is literally too tired to measure the software or the service I'm selling?
Yes.
So it just measures me instead.
Exactly that. To save mental energy, the brain listens for surface signals, tone of voice, pacing, the structure of how you frame a point.
Even your posture, right? If you are on video.
Yes, posture is huge. If you project those surface signals, if your pacing sounds steady and grounded, the buyer's brain takes an instant shortcut. It decides that this person sounds safe to trust.
So the brain does not need to burn precious energy checking every single thing you say.
Right.
That makes me think of walking into a busy coffee shop.
Oh, I love this. Go on.
If you walk up to the counter and you mumble your order and add like 5 extra conditions like, could I maybe get a latte if that's okay, or actually maybe just a black coffee, and you change your mind twice.
You look totally uncertain.
Right. You are sending out pure hesitation, but think about the internal process of the barista's brain in that moment.
They are stressed.
Exactly. The barista has a line of 10 people at the door. When you mumble and hesitate, the barista's brain has to work overtime. They have to ask follow-up questions, clarify the size, confirm the milk type.
You are creating work for them.
Yes, you are forcing them to burn mental energy they do not have. But if you walk in, speak slowly, and make a clear, specific request, I will have a medium dark roast, black.
The barista's brain gets a break.
Exactly. They do not have to think. They just ring it up.
That is exactly it. The perception of trust is entirely based on the delivery, and it saves the listener mental effort. Both of those customers could know the exact same amount about coffee.
Right, they could both be total beginners.
But the slow, clear speaker triggered a trust shortcut in the barista's tired brain. Sales calls run on this exact same human wiring.
That is so interesting.
And this is the great news for you listening right now. The signals that trigger trust, the slow pace, the clear request, they do not require 10 years of hitting your sales target.
You don't need a decade of closed deals to sound safe.
No, they just require awareness and habit. The exact same brain shortcut that makes a 10-year veteran sound safe is completely available to you on day one if you know how to trigger it.
Okay, I hear you on this brain shortcut, but I have to be honest.
Yeah, what is it?
If I am a rookie staring at a dry pipeline, and my manager is breathing down my neck for a revenue update.
Which happens all the time.
Right. And I am terrified of client ghosting. Taking a slow breath feels like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
It feels too simple.
Yeah. How does sounding calm actually help me when I am internally panicking about paying my rent?
Because you cannot just tell yourself to be calm. That never works. Calm is not a mood you magically adopt. It is a physical baseline you build.
Okay, a physical baseline. What does that mean?
The panic you feel, the cold hands, the tight throat that is your nervous system entering fight or flight. When you feel threatened by rejection, your vocal cords literally tighten. Your breathing becomes shallow. This means you have less air to support your words, which naturally makes you speak faster and at a higher pitch. The prospect hears that physical tension and feels unsafe.
So you are essentially stopping the panic loop in the body before it reaches your vocal cords.
Exactly. And the very first physical shift you can make to break that loop is the 10-second pause before the dial.
Wait, you just sit in total silence for 10 full seconds.
10 full seconds of complete silence before you dial. No phone, no frantic last-minute script review, no checking your pipeline. You just sit.
That sounds really hard to do when you're rushing.
It is hard, but what this does is force your nervous system to reset. You are manually shifting out of that reactive, panicked state and dropping your body into a grounded baseline.
And grounded is the exact physical state that trusted people operate from.
You got it.
Okay, I can see how that helps before the call begins. But the anxiety does not just vanish. For most people, the panic spikes highest right when you have to ask for money.
Oh, the pricing question.
Yes, that final pricing conversation.
That is the ultimate danger zone. And it is precisely when the buyer is listening most closely for your belief in what you sell. If you rush the pricing, you communicate fear.
So what is the physical fix there?
The physical fix here is taking 2 slow breaths right before the pricing conversation. That controlled breathing lowers your heart rate.
Which relaxes the vocal cords.
Exactly. It naturally steadies your pacing at the exact moment the client is judging your worth.
That brings up the voice itself. There is this one habit that completely ruins trust. And it happens all the time when people ask for money or push for a follow-up.
Let me guess, the upspeak.
The upward pitch trap, yes. It is when you let your voice rise at the end of a sentence so it sounds like you are asking a question, even when you are stating a simple fact, like, the service costs $5,000.
Upward pitch is devastating to how people view you. Dropping your pitch slightly at the end of a statement makes you register as much more solid.
Why does that happen, though?
Think about why this happens on a human level. In our past, when small animals or early humans wanted to show they were not a threat, they made higher-pitched sounds.
Oh, like a signal of submission.
Exactly. A lower pitch signals physical safety and belief. When you use that upward pitch on a sales call, you are quietly begging the buyer for approval.
You're taking a weak posture and asking for permission to be right.
Yes. This makes me think of an ordinary story about Michael. He was in software sales 3 weeks into his first role, and he felt like he was failing every single call.
A lot of us have been there.
He was treating every prospect conversation like a test he was failing. And it was not a fairy tale fix where he just woke up and sounded like a master closer.
Right. Those overnight success stories are rarely true.
Not at all. It was deeply painful for him. He realized he was doing 2 things constantly. Upward pitch at the end of his statements, nervous rushing. He wanted to run away from the silence.
So what did he change?
He forced himself to make 2 physical changes. He consciously drove his pitch down at the end of his sentences, and he forced a full 2-second pause after his key points.
Wow, that 2-second pause must have felt like an eternity to him.
Oh, it did.
When you are desperate for a conversion, 2 seconds of silence feels like staring into a void. You just know the client is going to hang up.
It felt awful at first. His heart would pound during those 2 seconds because every instinct was screaming at him to fill the gap, to keep talking so the prospect would not slip away.
But he held the silence.
He held it. And within a few weeks, a prospect stopped him and mentioned how seasoned he sounded. Michael had not even closed his first deal yet.
Wait, really? He hadn't closed a deal.
Not one. His knowledge had not improved one bit. His pacing had. The outward feedback changed just from tweaking those physical mechanics.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But, you can have a perfectly steady voice, but if the actual words you choose give away your power, you are still going to sound like an amateur.
Oh, the words absolutely matter.
I am so guilty of this next one. It is that constant feeling that we are intruding on the client's day, like we are a bother.
Yes, and it usually comes out as apology language before you have even offered any real value.
Right. Phrases like, sorry to bother you, or I know you're super busy, so I will be quick.
Apology language instantly signals low status. You are telling the buyer's tired brain, I am an interruption, I am not important. It lowers your perceived worth before you have even made your pitch.
Well, if the rule is no apologies, how should we open? Because we are often taught to open with a soft question to build a connection, something safe like, is now still a good time?
Opening with a timid question puts you in a weak position immediately. Instead of asking for permission to exist in their day, you should open with a short, clear statement about why the call matters.
Oh, so a statement, not a question.
Exactly. Establish your reason for being there first. Once that steady statement lands, then you can ask your questions.
I see. But the other instinct, besides apologizing, is the urge to dump info. We feel this massive gap in our own confidence, so we want to prove we belong in the room. We just unleash a flood of facts and features.
Which always backfires. There was a seller named Jennifer, a former nurse who moved into medical sales. She assumed her lack of formal sales background was a massive glowing neon sign over her head.
She felt like an imposter.
Fully. She thought everyone could see she was an imposter. So to make up for it, she would explain every single clinical detail. She was trying to prove she belonged through sheer volume of words.
That sounds exhausting for the buyer.
It was. Her calls were running incredibly long. She was rushing through the strong points and lingering on tiny, pointless details.
If she was dumping facts just to hide her own fear, I imagine the only way out was to force a limit on her own words, to, artificially restrict what she was allowed to say.
That is exactly what she had to do. She learned the power of being specific. Instead of a massive, rambling script, she started preparing just 3 specific details before every call.
Just 3.
Not a whole catalog, just 3 concrete numbers. Being specific functions as a massive trust signal to the human brain. It says, I have done the work, I have filtered the noise, here is what matters.
Wow.
And then she started using one specific phrase. What I am seeing in this space is...
What I am seeing in this space is, that is such a subtle shift. You are no longer reading from a brochure. You are offering an earned viewpoint.
Yes.
It positions you as a peer who is observing the market rather than someone begging for a commission.
And because she was actually paying attention to her target market, she could use the phrase honestly. By preparing just 3 points and offering her viewpoint, she stopped asking for permission.
That is powerful.
Eventually, a prospect on one of her calls literally stopped and asked for her professional opinion on a separate issue.
No way.
Yes. She realized it was the first time she actually felt like an equal in the room, rather than a guest hoping not to get kicked out.
Being specific over volume. I love that.
Yeah.
But if we are not talking constantly and we are holding ourselves back to just 3 points, that means there is going to be silence on the call.
Yes, there is.
Which brings up the biggest fear every salesperson faces. Is silence not just dead air? If I pause, will the prospect not just ghost me or hang up?
We have to completely unlearn this myth of dead air. We think silence is a hole that we are responsible for filling. But remember the tired brain we talked about?
Right, the barista with the long line.
Exactly. The buyer's brain is exhausted. When you rush your words, you broadcast nervous energy and you overwhelm their processing power.
The silence actually helps them.
It does. Speakers who use careful pauses are always viewed as more capable. A 2-second pause after a strong statement is the ultimate trust signal.
Because it tells the buyer's brain this person is comfortable enough to let that sit. It shows you are not desperate for their immediate praise.
Precisely.
You are giving their brain a moment to actually digest what you just said.
It is a gift to their nervous system. And silence is not just about pausing after you speak. It is also about what you do when the client speaks.
Oh, active listening.
Right. Instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, use that space to actively listen and then summarize what they just said before you respond. It proves you are present, which builds incredible trust.
So practically speaking, How do you actually build this pacing and pausing into a daily routine?
It takes practice.
I mean, it's incredibly hard to monitor your own vocal pitch and your pause length in real time when you were deeply worried about handling a rejection or hitting a target.
There was a seller named David who found a brilliant way to practice this. He started reviewing just one of his call recordings a week, but he listened only for pacing and pitch.
Just the pay to
He
play.
completely ignored the actual sales content.
Oh, he isolated the variable. He stripped away the distraction of the product feature so he could actually hear his own pacing.
Yes, and it was brutal at first. Listening to your own nervous rushing is a painful mirror.
Oh, I hate hearing my own voice on recordings.
We all do. He realized he was using apology language constantly and stepping all over the client's words. But as he consciously practiced letting the pauses breathe and dropping the apologies, his calls naturally became shorter.
Wow.
He did not change his product, he changed his physical presence on the phone.
I'm reflecting on all of this, and it is honestly so freeing.
Isn't it?
The common myth in the sales world is that you have to be this loud, pushy person to be successful. Like you have to dominate the room and never take no for an answer.
That is probably the most harmful myth out there. If we redefine trust based on how human behavior actually works, real authority does not mean sounding dominant.
No, it really doesn't.
Real authority is unhurried. It is calm. And buyers respond to calm far more often than they respond to pressure.
Which means this kind of success is entirely open to quiet people.
Absolutely.
It is open to introverts. It is open to rookies on day one.
Yes.
It is a set of physical habits you can practice. But what about the internal feeling? Do you just have to fake it until the fear goes away?
You do not fake it. You physically lead it. The inner feeling of belief actually catches up to the physical practice.
So the body leads the mind.
Exactly. If you practice the outward signals, a 10-second pause before you dial, the steady pacing, dropping your pitch, using specific details, your body starts sending signals to your brain that you are safe.
That makes total sense.
The outward physical state creates the inward emotional reality. You act your way into a new way of thinking.
So to tie this all together, how do we leave a lasting mark? Once we have done the call, asked the questions, and made the pitch, how do we finish the interaction?
The final polish is vital. You have to end every single call no matter the outcome, even if it is a brutal, flat-out rejection with a grounded, unhurried sentence.
Which is hard because most new sellers get a rejection and they panic.
They completely fall apart. Their fight or flight kicks in, their pitch shoots up, and they hit a rushed, high-pitched, "Okay, thank you so much, bye," and slam the phone down.
I know that exact tone. I have done it 100 times. You just want to escape the pain of the rejection. You want to hide.
But how you end the call is what the prospect remembers most clearly. More importantly, ending calmly reinforces the exact identity you need for the very next dial on your list.
Oh, I love that.
You are teaching your own brain that you are an unhurried professional, regardless of whether they bought or not. A rejection does not threaten your safety.
That changes everything about how you approach the job and how you view your pipeline. Which brings me to a final thought for anyone listening right now who feels weighed down by the losses. We have talked about the mechanics of trust, but consider what this means about the rejections you have faced recently. What if a prospect's rejection was not actually a rejection of your product or your price or even you as a person?
Wow.
What if their tired, overworked brain simply rejected the panicked, rushed frequency you are broadcasting? Think about how much control that gives back to you for the very next dial you make. It's not about knowing more. It is just about pacing.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Sales Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Sales Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Sales Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Sales Support Circle. Your support helps honest sales awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Sales Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.